Have you ever had a time in your life when it felt like the stress and frustrations just seemed to pile on top of you? Well, lately it's been feeling like that for me. Ever since we've gotten back home from California, it seems like thing after thing. Lately, we've been dealing with kids that have been sick, my watering system leaking for my animals, the challenges that I had yesterday with my wheel hoe. On top of that, our internet has been on off I don't know how many times. We've had 8 technicians coming to service us. Oh, and how can I forget, the heat and humidity have been ridiculous. It's been 97 degrees for a couple days straight. But today is a new day, and I don't need to meditate and think about those negative things that have happened. The best kind of meditation is thinking on what is good. I have so many things that are good in my life. Had an awesome time in California. Have a wonderful family to farm and work with. So it's time to approach today like it is a new day. I must admit, pretty aggravated, frustrated, stressed out yesterday. Not the most difficult thing we've ever faced, but it just seemed like thing after thing was not going according to plan. It just seemed like challenge after challenge. So try to wake up and try to look at when you wake up the next day, just starting fresh, starting new. So I find it very helpful to do deep breathing exercises in the morning. So next I'm gonna go ahead and do some warm up before we go out there and start getting physical again. People will often ask me, I'm doing stuff like this, they're like, is your back okay? I'm like, yeah. It's like to warm it up or stretch it out, get blood flowing in there. So hopefully I don't have anything wrong with my back. Alrighty, so back where we left off from yesterday, last night. And we were making furrows in this bed, at least trying to, with the wheel hoe here, with the plow implement that is attached to it. We're trying to make furrows so that way we could sow our seeds right in the furrows. And I don't want to use the seeder here just because I feel like the seeders just have the spacing too far apart for me with growing arugula and red Russian kale, which we plan to grow here. So I like to do it by hand just to get it real close and real dense in there, so you just have a lot to harvest there, especially with us doing smaller leaves. So the plow implement attachment that we had to the wheel hoe wasn't quite doing the job that I like. It was getting quite frustrating just because we have still a lot of clay, and actually all around the property there's clay, so it's really tough to work with here, even though this is one of the looser soil beds that we have. So I'm trying something different today. Instead of going with the plow attachment, we're going to go with one of the cultivator blades. There's a kit for multiple blades that you can attach to here to cultivate, but we're trying one to make a furrows for our beds. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully today is going to go better. A million times better. So definitely recommend going with the one blade. It doesn't do a deep furrow, but does it deep enough for what we're growing. So that will be what we use going forward. And when I'm sowing the seed by hand, may not be perfect, but how I like to do it, so I like to get some seeds in my 2 fingers here, and then I'll just go sprinkle it out as I'm walking. It's kind of like, alrighty, now that the seed is sown, the next part is to rake and just cover the seed up. And how I like to do that is I like to take just a garden leaf rake and just lightly rake over the soil right over top of it so it's not over it too much. Alrighty, now that this bed is ready and in action, hopefully stuff growing now, time to work on this bed right here. I need to add some compost in here, and we'll add what we can based on what we have. I could just add layer upon layer of compost and we could just immediately do no-till. However, that is not in the budget. And for most people getting started, it's not in the budget to add like 8 to 12 inches or whatever of compost in your garden beds, so you can just immediately go to no-till, especially if you're dealing with heavy clay like we are. So you have to do what you can to work on improving the soil that you have, and just do what you got. Besides, back in the day, no one would have been able to add layers upon layers of compost from somewhere else. It wasn't that readily available. But speaking of that, I do want to mention to those of you who are getting started, and you may not have the budget to add layer upon layer of compost and buy all kind of different fancy tools, just work with what you have and progress as you go. Don't get certain ideologies in mind that will hinder you from making progress and actually doing something. Don't let people make you feel bad for that. Just make progress as you can and as you go, and you gain and improve and bring in new resources as you go. But if you don't do anything, or you try to do everything perfect right away, or try to do everything perfect all the time, you're just going to fall short. And I'm doing the best I can here, and I'm focusing on progress, not perfection, progress. So after dumping this compost here, I'm just walking by and seeing all these big clods of clay. I think I am gonna run the tiller first to break it up and break a lot of the clods up if I can. And then just smooth it out and then put a heavy layer, just kind of exhaust the compost that I have over there. Then I think that the next time I could do a no-till on this bed. First I just want to break these clods up, because last night when I was using the Haas wheel hoe over there were some clods that were in those beds, and that was one of the things that was causing problems. You'd hit that clod and it would just divert you over to the side and just totally mess up my farrow. So I'm gonna try to break these clods up as best I can. So hopefully it'll be easier and easier. Alrighty, the heat is definitely almost full force out there right now. It is 90 degrees. Definitely kind of stopping. Besides, I accomplished what I was able to accomplish as I used the rototiller to kind of break up some of the clay clods. There were a couple of sections where it was just so hard. I just had to let the cultivator just sit there and turn to just try to break up the hard clay that was there, and that just shows you that as hard as it is, that would be hard for roots to kind of penetrate and grow through there. But after I got that done, I started bringing in load after load of compost, and I went way heavier than I normally go, just because I want to try to get those beds where we can try to do no-till on those beds coming up as well. So I was bringing in, started off with just using the buckets like I normally do, and then I just started bringing in the gorilla cart and filling up the gorilla cart with compost, as well as our wheelbarrow, and dumping both of those. So I was only able to get about 2/3 of the two 50-foot beds done with adding compost in there. I still have another third to do, but we need more compost. I ran out, since I went way heavier than I normally go. Used 2 yards. That was 2 yards of compost that I put out there. So that was definitely a lot. So I think we need another yard or so to finish. But it's definitely a process. And working with the soil has been a process in general, and just trying to improve the soil all around the farm. Actually, to begin with, I started to try to improve the soil. I sifted a lot of it by hand, just screening it out, separating some of the hard clay. And this was in some of the other portions of the garden. But really trying to avoid that now, and trying to not necessarily avoid using machines, but using less machines, and finding that balance of using machines versus the manual handheld tools and labor. But right now, stay inside while it's the hottest part of the day, and try to get some things done on the computer, some office work, fun. But responding to emails, as well as I'm going to be working on providing some of the talks from the Homesteading Life Conference and the National Heirloom Expo, setting some of them up for our Patreon members. So if you want some information on how you can get those, make sure you check out the show notes below. But also, right down just across from me, Lacie is working on our next vlog.
Hi.
This right here is some good stuff, and right now I need it because the mosquitoes are out, and they're out with a vengeance. It has cooled down. It did reach 97 today. 97, and it's almost October. It's ridiculous. But this is herbal bug and tick spray. Works great for keeping mosquitoes away. And it's from Mother Nature's Mountain. Friend of mine, Dr. Flower, she makes these, and she's given for autumn 10% off any of her products, including this. So make sure you check out the show notes below. But back out to the garden to get some work done, and just switched out the wheel hoe, put the oscillating hoe on it, and ready to go outside and see if we can clear out some pathways and get rid of some unwanted plants. Okay, so I'm going to use the wheel hoe right here. This is a bed that I tried to do some direct seed with the lettuce on, and only a few sprouted. However, some unwanted plants did sprout, so we're going to try to go ahead and knock those out and clear out the walkways. As you can see right in there, there's some unwanted plants. So I'm going to test this wheel hoe out with just seeing how fast we can just clear that out and keep the walkways clean. But we're also going to take out some of the lettuce that did sprout, and we'll just transplant them in an area where they can grow, so they're just not just all spread out, but we really maximize the space we have in this bed. So it's disappointing that the lettuce didn't really fully grow and the bed didn't sprout really well, but that happens sometimes. Right here in the bed beside it though, Swiss chard is looking kind of nice. It's got a little bit of holes. Waiting for the pest pressure to go down. Should get some row covers, but don't have that right now. Hey there.
Hi. Daddy, may I have some mustard greens?
There are some mustard greens that have sprouted and are growing in this bed. You sure you want them? Hotter than the arugula. Go for it then. Let's see what you think. These are the really hot kind. We'll see what happens.
Not spicy yet.
I'm surprised. Those are really tough. Really, they're not tough, they're really hot. Got a little kick to them. The kick come in yet? No? Let me try. Are you joking to me? Let's try this out. I do like them, but I usually don't like to eat them just straight. These aren't bad yet. As they get a little bit older and more mature, they really get with the kick. So
Try this.
these are okay. But I thought Selah was definitely gonna have a little bit more surprise than she have. That one's a little bit bigger. See how that one tastes. Anything yet?
A little bit.
A little bit?
It's hotter than the other.
There we go.
It's not super hot, like, not that hot.
There we go. As these mustard greens grow and mature, they get spicier and have more of a kick to them. When they're small and tender, they're not quite as bad. But then as the plant gets bigger, it gets... What do you think about that? It's a little bit hotter.
Here, you eat this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's not that bad, the first piece.
I'm gonna pass. Because sometimes I've had them where they're so hot it just instantly makes your eyes just start watering. It seems like water just going inside your eyeball and in your head as well as outside. Wow, that is so much faster than using the handheld stirrup hoe with the oscillating in on it. Man, that makes a big difference. So that took me about a minute to do a 50-foot walkway with the wheel hoe. Just see how long it takes me to do it with just the handheld scuffle stirrup hoe. Whew, that one got me out of breath. The wheel hoe didn't give me the same kind of workout that using the manual handle one. That one definitely got me, I was even trying to move a little bit faster to keep it moving. So took about 4 minutes for me to do it. A bed with the weeds a little bit more under control. It'd probably take about 3. But either way, using that wheel hoe makes you 3 to 4 times faster and more efficient. So and maybe not a tool that you're going to start brand new in your homestead, but something you, as you're progressing, as I talked about earlier, progressing, you're bringing more tools and resources on your farm, and to help you get better and more efficient. Definitely one that I recommend to help speed things up. I really liked it. And then for right here, I'm just going to go ahead and use the flame weeder just to torch out right here, just in case any of them, actually see a couple of them that may be close to going to seed. So just go ahead and do that. Besides, the weed pressure on this bed it's been a little higher than I'd like for it to be, so I'll just continue to torch them out.
Secondhand, I felt a bit forgotten. Not your plan, but now the days of silence outgrow the fun things we have done. But tell me, do you wanna carry on? Plants don't grow without water, and they cave when it's cold. We could go till we're older. Put your head on my shoulder, and let's enjoy the ride. When we started out, we're wishing misaligned. We were like yin and yang combined. Now the tables have turned. Can we live and unlearn? You tell me